My friends, hello, welcome. Are we live? Let's check if we're live. You know the routine. First thing I do when I start streaming is I go to our YouTube channel. I click on the live video. I see it here. And then I like to make sure that, let's see. I like to make sure that the audio is working. Is it working though? Sounds very faint. What's going on here? Hello? Is it working though? There we go. Okay, I think we're good. I believe we're good. We've got one person here. Just gonna get things rolling real quick. There we go. I'm live. Andrew says, you're live. I'm live. Obi-Wan's here. Obi-Wan's here doing some jive talking. Hold on, I gotta grab I can't see that far. Andrew says, I'm also live with you as you're live. We're all live together here. We're all live. It's a very lively party tonight, isn't it? Here on the official YouTube channel of Superdivorce. I am Nicholas Randall Villars. I am one half of the synth pop duo known as Superdivorce, and you are watching us. You're watching me rather on YouTube right now. So welcome, welcome. I'm getting a sign of. I'm getting the twisting sign where it doesn't know if it wants to actually stream or not. I think we're still okay. Okay. Hopefully we can keep it together here. All right. Tonight's topic of discussion, as you might have guessed, we're going to discuss comic artist Robbi Rodriguez a little bit. And if you're not familiar with Robbi Rodriguez, we're going to go through things a little bit. I'm going to talk about him. Because this kind of hits close to home. Without divulging too much right off the bat here, this is an artist that Bender really enjoyed. His work on Spider-Gwen. We'll get to it, but I've actually seen Bender stand in line and wait to meet this guy. So it's interesting. This is an interesting story. It's an interesting development that we're going to talk about here tonight. Andrew said, Andrew asked Obi-Wan, what's up? He likes Series 2 of the Aussie Beer Review, and he's learning a lot about the history of cricket. Andrew says that he really likes the content, and I still haven't had a chance to check out the Series 2 of the beer reviews or the cricket stuff. I've seen them posted. I'm behind on my Obi-Wan stuff, so Obi-Wan, I'm not going to bullshit you. I've not checked out the videos yet, but I'm going to. I promise. I also saw that you placed an order on the Superdivorce Superstore, and your items will be shipping out tomorrow. So please look forward to receiving them fairly soon. I don't know exactly how long it took for the CD to get to you when we sent it, but I'm guessing it's going to be about the same amount of time from the shipping date to the receiving date, however long that is. I don't know, maybe a couple weeks. Hopefully no longer than that. Seems like a reasonable amount of time. So what's going on? Yeah, it's been a couple days since I've gotten to sit down here and kind of go through a non-rushed live video. So it's good. It's good to be here. Good to share the evening with you. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, cool. I just realized this. Obi-Wan has changed his name to Obi-Wan Reviews. I like that. Yeah, that's fantastic. It's a great name. So let's see here, everyone. What have we been up to? Andrew and I recorded some new sequential Star Wars yesterday. We did. What did we do? Was it 4 or 5 episodes? We did 4 or 5 episodes yesterday. and then we're going to do more tomorrow so that we can kind of build up a nice queue and keep these things rolling out every single day at midnight. I think that's it's a pretty neat way to do it. Something you can count on, something that you can look forward to. And we always like you to look forward to things here on this channel. We always like for you to look forward to Superdivorce and all of our Superdivorce related content. So, okay, that's what I thought. Andrew said we recorded 4 last night, and that's right. And they were a bit longer. I feel like there was a bit more to discuss in some of these episodes than the past few. I feel like in the last round of recording for Sequential Star Wars, we were hitting like around, I would say, between 30 and 40 minutes on average. And then it seemed like last night, I mean, we were getting close to an hour on almost every one of them because we didn't finish up until after 6 in the morning. So it was a nice, hefty evening of recording. All right, so that's what's up. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at what's going on in the world of Robbi Rodriguez here. Robbi Rodriguez. This fella right here, he is a professional comic book artist. He works for both Marvel and DC. He is an artist that Bender has been a big fan of over the past few years. Known most notably, I would say for... Oh, well, this, real quick. Do you see the resemblance here? This is Ethan Van Sciver's sketch of the sort of... this is like a soy face right here. This is like the soy boy, soy face with the kind of slightly raised eyebrows, the crooked smirk, you know. He's like, really, you know, like that type of deal. I think that I think they look similar, don't you? Do you see that at all? I kind of see a resemblance. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out real quick. Anyhow, so you can see here's some of the work from Robbi Rodriguez. He's been working on Spider-Gwen, or he was for some time. I don't know what's going on with that series right now because I think I might have purchased like the first issue or so, maybe the first couple issues, but I never read it consistently. I know that Bender did for a while and he really enjoyed it. So he, at a Comic-Con a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I saw Bender wait in line to meet this guy. He waited in line to meet him, and he got his one of his Spider-Gwen books. It might have been an Edge of Spider-Verse. I can't remember which issue it was. I'd have to ask him. I told him that we were going live, so I wish he were here to confirm and tell me which Spider-Gwen appearance it was that he had Robbi Rodriguez sign. But he had one of Rodriguez's books signed by the man himself, and then I believe he had that sent off for grading at that same event. It was the same event where I sent off my issue of Ultimate Spider-Man #1, the white variant, which is probably the most expensive comic book that I own. Probably the most valuable, I would say. And it came back with a 9.6, so that was a pretty good grade. For a book that I only paid, I think I paid like $90 for it. I think it's well over $300 now at that grade. I haven't checked in a while, so it could be creeping closer to $500. I don't know, but it's definitely the most valuable book that I own, I believe. Anyhow, so Robbi, Mr. Robbi here, shares a striking resemblance with the prototypical soy boy. Does some good art, you know. I'm not gonna lie. I think that he's a good artist. He's obviously done a good deal of work for Marvel. This is on the Marvel website right here, so you can see Robbi Rodriguez comics. They like him enough to give him his own page on their official website. He's working with DC now as well. He's got this book coming out in, I believe they said December is going to be the release for Goddess Mode. It is one of the new comics in, or one of the launch titles in the new relaunch of DC's Vertigo line. And that's, I think the first book in that might be coming out in September. And then they're going to kind of, release them periodically, I think up until maybe springtime of 2019. I believe there are like 7 books in the line that they're going to be releasing over that period of months. But this is one of them, Goddess Mode. It is written by Zoe Quinn, who you might know from Gamergate. We won't really get into that right now, but she's working with Robbi Rodriguez. He's doing the art. I mean, it looks, this artwork, I think it's kind of cool. I like all the neon colors. I think that's it's nice. Actually, I don't know if Robbi Rodriguez did the colors or not, so maybe I'm giving credit where credit is not due. There could be a different colorist on this. But the actual artwork it's decent enough as well, I guess. Not necessarily my style, not necessarily the style that I would like to see in my comics, but it's he's a talented artist anyway. We'll say that. So this is Goddess Mode. Now, I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know what's going to happen on the Marvel website, and I don't know what's going to happen with Goddess Mode after this development that has come out on Twitter within just I think the past 24 hours. This was a big story on Twitter. You probably see in the title to this video that Robbi Rodriguez had sent a butt picture. He sent a butt photograph to Ethan Van Sciver. And we'll see the tweet here soon. I'm going to show it to you. I've got it censored so that we don't get this video removed. But, no pun intended. But I'm going to show you the tweet, and you'll be able to see about how large the picture was that he sent to Ethan Van Sciver, what he said along with it. We're going to get to that. But real quick, you have some details now. You know, Robbi Rodriguez is kind of a bit of a soy artist. He's got some things to say. He has some things to say about this a couple years ago, and I'm gonna put all this together. But I've got it kind of laid out, so we're gonna go in order. By the end, it's all gonna come together here. But we're gonna make a little jump. We're gonna go back in time. Now that you know a little bit about Robbi Rodriguez, and you know that he has sent a butt photograph to Ethan Van Sciver of his butt on Twitter for the whole world to see. That's the kind of person that Robbi Rodriguez is. He's the kind of person who's going to send you a butt photograph over Twitter and make this face and make that face. This is an artist by the name of Frank Cho. Frank Cho is known for doing sort of provocative, sexy renderings, drawings of various female superheroes. He's got his fan base. He's also, at this point, as you can guess, he's got a large group of people who are not a fan of his. They think that his work is inappropriate. They don't like the sexualization of these superhero ladies. They think it's in bad taste, and they think that he is, I guess, holding women back in the industry by accentuating their sexual features and drawing them in the kind of exaggerated pin-up kind of way. Well, I wouldn't say not traditional pin-up, but he's definitely focusing on their figure oftentimes. And that's kind of his shtick. And some people love it and some people hate it. Whatever. Anyhow, a couple years ago, no, I guess it was 3 years ago. Now it was 2015. Frank Cho, this gentleman right here, he drew a picture of Spider-Gwen, who you remember Robbi Rodriguez has drawn quite a bit of throughout his career at Marvel now. Frank Cho took a crack at drawing Spider-Gwen on someone's blank cover, basically. And here it is. Here's the picture. Here's the Spider-Gwen drawing that he did. This is a pose that we've seen Peter Parker in countless times over the years. When a lady is in this pose, I will admit that it's got perhaps a different connotation to it. She is sort of presenting herself here. That's kind of the impression it gives you, as you can see. And here's Peter Parker back here, and he's saying, "Woohoo, deja vu," and that's funny because you know, Gwen Stacy is his ex-girlfriend who died tragically in the comics a long time ago. But this is Gwen Stacy from a different Spider-Verse, a different universe in the multiverse, where she became the Spider superhero. And Peter Parker was actually he was kind of a nerdy kid who was actually her boyfriend, and he wanted to keep up with her. He found out that she was Spider-Woman in this universe, and being the great scientist that he was, in this alternate timeline, Peter Parker becomes the Lizard. He sort of administers the serum on himself, and in an effort to become a superhero, he becomes a villain. You know, that old trick. And then he ends up actually getting killed at the hands of Spider-Woman. And then she finds out that it was actually Peter Parker the whole time, running around as the Lizard. And he said, "I was just trying to impress you. I just wanted to be like you, Gwen." And it's very tragic, and that's kind of like her Uncle Ben moment. You know, that's her tragedy in that universe. So anyway, this is not Peter Parker's this is not Peter Parker's Gwen Stacy. This is Spider-Gwen from a different universe. So he's like, "Woo, deja vu. I've seen that before," you know, because he dated her. They were a couple. And so that's what happened there. Anyhow, Robbi Rodriguez did not like Frank Cho drawing her like this. Robbi Rodriguez had this to say in a tweet shortly after. Once he got to see Frank Cho's drawing, Robbi Rodriguez said this. Robbi Rodriguez on 7 April 2015 at 2:42 a.m. You know, this is deep into the night. He had to get on Twitter and say, "Here's my take on the Frank Cho sketch cover. You're drawing dirty pics of one of my kids. Be lucky you're never around me. Hashtag Spider-Gwen." So he did not like this picture. This is one of Robbi Rodriguez's kids, and he was telling Frank Cho, you know, you're lucky. Be lucky you're never around me. Well, I would assume that at some point they were going to cross paths, or they will in the future, because, you know, they're both artists. I would assume at some point they're going to have to be in the same convention hall. It just seems like luck would have it turn out that way at some point. Even if they've avoided each other all the way up until now, it seems likely that they're going to be under the same roof. We can say that. So, I don't know. This seems like a threat to me. Be lucky you're never around me. Well, it's unfortunate. This is something I have to point out. He doesn't know the proper usage. He did not pay attention in English class when they were going over correct English usage. This is obviously not the right "you're." He was wanting to say, "You are drawing dirty pics of one of my kids." That's his take on it. That's his hot take. I think in 2015 we hadn't really started using hot take all the time, but this is definitely a hot take. It's a hot take, first of all, to call Gwen Stacy your kid, And it's also a hot take to say that that you should be lucky you're never around me, because that sounds like a veiled threat. Sounds like you're going to try and lay the smack down if you happen to stumble into Frank Cho. I mean, I just think he looks like a nice enough guy. He's just drawing pictures. It's just for fun. It's not like this isn't I wouldn't call this porn. I wouldn't say it's, I don't know. The only thing that makes it dirty is this right here. Peter Parker makes it dirty because it changes the context a little bit. He's staring at her, you know. But this pose right here, like Peter Parker's been drawing this pose plenty of times. The kind of crawling, the sneaking type of pose with the butt up in the air. I don't know what the advantage is. I guess that maybe you're up on your toes, and you also got your hands down in front of you, so you can kind of keep that arch and slink along buildings, slink across the roof, slink over to the side of the building, slink your way down. You can do a lot of slinking in this pose. But I don't know if I would really call it a dirty picture. When I think of a dirty picture, I definitely think of porn. Dirty pictures, you would think that it's like a pornographic picture, that there's something explicitly vulgar about it. So I don't know. It's whatever, you know. Not anything, in my opinion, worth going on Twitter and threatening anyone over. So anyhow, Robbi Rodriguez, he's taking a moral stance here. He is disgusted by this dirty picture of one of his kids. He's taking a moral stance, everyone. He's showing that he is very virtuous. He's got principles. He says, look, comic books, artwork, we're doing this. We're trying to get a rise out of people. We're trying to entertain, but you got to know when to say when, Frank Cho. And you drew a dirty picture of one of my kids. My kids, damn it. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let you draw dirty pics of one of my kids. That's Gwen Stacy. She is my kid. Gwen Stacy has been around for probably 40 years, but that's my kid, damn it. And you are not to draw dirty pics of her. Do you understand? That is vulgar. It's inappropriate, and it's nothing that anyone wants to see. Frank Cho, you are depraved. You are degenerate. And comics, we don't need you in the industry. Be lucky you're never around me, pal, because I would sock you right in your nose. Do you understand? And that's kind of the vibe that Robbi Rodriguez is giving off with this right here. You can extract all of that from this tweet. You can extract everything I just said from this tweet. There's a lot to unpack in there, and we could unpack it more, but I need to move on. We can't stay stuck here for too long. Okay, so now that you know that Robbi Rodriguez is the type of man to take the moral stance, he is the type of man to draw a line in the sand and say, not cool. He's the type of man who wants comics to be fun and appropriate for all audiences. And he thinks that creators should be held accountable for when they step out of line. They should present themselves and their work in a dignified and noble way. And it should not be presented in a vulgar way. It should not be presented in a way that that could be seen as off color. So, now that you know that about him, you know this man is very virtuous. You know this man, he's not, oh, what should I say? He's not to be swayed from his position here. He is very dignified. He is very moral. He thinks highly of ethics. He wants to present himself and his work in in a noble way. So last evening, he sends this man, Ethan Van Sciver, or Dear Uncle Ethan. He sends Ethan Van Sciver, the creator of Cyberfrog, who has been around since 1993. A lot of people, for some reason, are saying that Ethan Van Sciver has created Cyberfrog to capitalize on the popularity of Pepe the Frog, the meme Pepe the Frog. I don't know if you've heard anyone say this. I've seen it written countless times now, and I'm surprised that that people can propagate such garbage without doing any research whatsoever. I mean, a quick trip to Wikipedia would allow you to see that Cyberfrog is not a new invention. Cyberfrog, like I said, was created in 1993, ran from 93 to 98, I believe, drawn and written by Ethan Van Sciver. And he's brought it back since leaving DC, did a very, very successful Indiegogo campaign, raised over $500,000. I think it was like $539,000 or something like that, for this independent frog book. I mean, people at Marvel and DC are just going insane about this. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to make of it. He's gone out on his own. He's making more money by himself, just interacting with his fans, than he ever made when he was working at Marvel or DC. It's pretty amazing, and I think a lot of people are inspired by that. A lot of artists and writers are seeing his example as a sort of glimmer of hope, and a lot of artists and creators are taking his example and trying to follow it, and trying to capitalize on this new way of doing business within the comics industry. A lot of people are very inspired right now, but also a lot of people are very bitter. A lot of people don't want him to succeed. I think that it has a lot to do with the fact that he is right-leaning. He is a Republican. He is a Trump supporter. And in the comic book industry, at least in the big two, it's very hostile right now towards conservatives, and conservatives are basically being driven out of the mainstream comic book industry. They were doing this in hopes of sort of clearing the deck so that it would be all left-leaning people, writers and artists in the comic book industry. The right-wingers would be pushed out. There would be no counter voice. There would be no counterpoints presented in comics. They would successfully take it over and leave people like Ethan Van Sciver and all of the people within the Comicsgate community without a job. That, I think, was their ideal future. What they did not see coming was a guy like Ethan Van Sciver bringing back this old frog character from the 90s that, had I would say, a very mild form of success. Most people on the street, if you ask them, probably wouldn't know who Cyberfrog is, but it had its small fan base. It was niche. No one saw him bringing Cyberfrog back and raising over $500,000, and no one saw his next project that's on the horizon, Rainbow Brute, having all of this build up and buzz going, where people are thinking it's probably going to do even better than Cyberfrog did. So people just didn't see that coming. People in the mainstream comic book industry did not see that coming. A lot of people are very jealous. A lot of people are very resentful, and they're trying to bring him down and all those who associate with him. I think that part of it is politically motivated, but I also believe that it's very well possible that the brunt of this counter movement, this SJW type attack on Ethan Van Sciver, is not really coming from a place of political motivation. At least not the people who are within the industry. I don't think they're lashing out at him necessarily just because of his politics. I think they're lashing out at him because of how successful he's become. and they're jealous. They wish they could do the same thing, and they can't. The reason they can't is because they treat their customers, they treat the fans like garbage. They act like the fans' input means nothing. They tell you if you don't like the books that they're putting out, it's because you're a bigot. It's because you're a white supremacist, because you are a misogynist. It's because you're a xenophobe. All of these things that really have nothing to do with why the people are moving away from the comic books. They're moving away from comics because they're not telling compelling stories. They're moving away from comic books put out by Marvel and DC because they have screwed with the characters to the degree that they no longer resemble the superheroes that the fans fell in love with. They're trying to change them so drastically in order to represent people who feel underrepresented in comics. I have no problem with representation, but it's an issue when you're trying to represent people by changing already established characters and already established books into something that they're not. Establish new characters, establish new identities, bring new characters into new comic books to represent those who feel like they're not represented. That's totally fine. No one is against that. But when you start tinkering with the formula, it doesn't matter what it is. This is what happened with New Coke in the 80s. People didn't like it. People already knew what Coke tasted like. When you gave them New Coke, they rejected it. It didn't have to be because New Coke tasted horrible. It was because people already had in their minds cemented what Coca-Cola is supposed to taste like. When you change that, it's no longer Coca-Cola. People aren't going to buy it. So it's the same thing with comics. It's the same thing with movies. When they reboot something that no longer resembles the original IP, people don't show up. People don't go to the theater. People don't buy the movie when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray. It happens with video games when there's a horrible reboot of something that was already successful. It's all over the place. It's not just comic books. So anyhow, long trip to the sidebar there. Let me see real quick. I'm just going to look at the chat. Obi-Wan said they're shooting themselves in the foot. He said he probably still counts himself as left-leaning, but what they're doing is only driving him towards the right, and he's sure he's not alone. And that's exactly what happened with me. You know, I mean, like, if you would have asked me just 2 years ago if I would have considered myself right-leaning, I would have said absolutely not, no way. But the shift in the political spectrum, the rearranging of the political spectrum has been so insane and so drastic over the course of the past couple years, I would say, especially since the 2016 election. That's when things got really, really crazy. I've said this before, but I feel like right now, if you are anything to the right of Marx, then you're seen as a right-winger. You're seen as a Nazi, and that's insane. That's why their side is dwindling at this point, and it's why they're losing it. They're scrambling. They're just pushing people away, and rather than turning inward and asking what they're doing wrong, they're going with this narrative that the entire world's being indoctrinated by some sort of Nazi mind disease that's turning everyone into a Nazi. So if anyone doesn't believe the same things that you do, and they're not as devout in their leftist views, then don't even bother having a conversation with them, because then you might get infected, right? Because these people, they don't have a foundation. They're not arguing from any sort of points of conviction. If you press them on issues, they get upset. They'll start calling you names. They'll start shouting at you. This is not me exaggerating either. You can look these videos up. You see it time and time again. You can't talk to them. They don't want to talk. they don't want to talk because they don't even know their positions very well. All they do is they have an intuition that you're wrong, and they shout and they get upset, and then at a point they want to come and punch you. They want to physically assault you, because that's how they've built this up in their mind, that you are, if you're not with them, then you are literally on the side of the Nazis, and they see themselves as the people who were sort of on the sidelines in Germany during like the 30s and 40s who did nothing. And like, well, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to stand up to these Nazis, and I'm going to go punch people, and I'm going to change the course of history. But they don't know why they believe that, really. They don't know why they think the other people are Nazis. They just do. And they can't really give you any answers if you press them on it. So it's a completely unhinged way of living your life, and it's what drove me away from that side. I was looking around and seeing how people on the left, even people that I was friends with, were just constantly miserable, moaning about this and that, about things that they could probably fix, moaning about their own lives and then blaming it on everyone else, blaming it on everything from the patriarchy to Donald Trump. It was just all over the place. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason to be miserable. And as someone who dealt with some pretty hefty mental struggles, I would say over the course of, maybe the past 10 years, it's been like a journey out of hell, we could call that, that started about 10 years ago. And it was a lot of effort on my part, put into coming back from that, and a lot of looking for the light, a lot of trying to find what was right in the world and focusing on that, not ignoring problems, but not making them up either. And so when I looked around and saw that the left had become this sort of monster, where it wasn't just about politics, it was about, in a way, looking at the world and trying to find reasons to deny it, and trying to find reasons to be miserable. And that was not something that I wanted to be a part of anymore. And I started noticing that people who were kind of right-leaning tended, to my eyes, to be a little more optimistic, to have a little more hope. And it wasn't, that's the crazy thing, is it wasn't necessarily a political move in the beginning for me. It was like an experiential type thing, where it's like there's something about the mindset of these people that I've fallen in with, and I would say that would be like the leftist crowd, whereas like all I see is anger and frustration and whining and bitching and moaning and complaining, and I never see anyone doing anything to better the situation. I never see anyone doing anything to make the world a better place, on a small scale, first of all. And that would be like starting with yourself. I never saw people putting their best foot forward and trying to get out of their own personal hell before trying to change the entire goddamn world. Because you can't do that. You can't fix the world if you're a mess yourself. And it was like taking that initiative and trying to fix yourself is seen as like, it's almost like off-putting to these people. It's like you're not wallowing, and you're not finding reasons to be upset all the time. And you should be, because there's always something to be upset about. And if you're not upset, then it means you're not paying attention. That's like the mindset there. But that's just, it's sick. Looking at the world that way is sick. It's an illness. And it's something that you have to exercise out of yourself, because it can drag you down and it can destroy you. No joke. So anyhow, with that, again, let me return from the sidebar now. Let's see. Andrew said it's like a bizarre aristocracy. Yes, it is. It's yeah, it's very similar to that. So, Ethan Van Sciver, at this point, a renegade of the comic book industry, we could say. Definitely not operating within the mainstream, but is having more success than most of the creators who are. So yesterday, our friend Robbi here sends this tweet to Ethan Van Sciver. He ats him, and he says, "Hey, at Ethan Van Sciver, I'm a big fan." This was sent at 9:24 p.m. on the 23rd of August, 2018. It had a couple retweets, 3 likes at this point. Someone grabbed this very quickly because if you look now, it is gone. Robbi Rodriguez has deleted all of his tweets except for, I think, maybe 3. So I wonder why. I wonder why he would do that. This right here is a pixelated photograph. It's a pixelated photograph of what we're assuming here is Robbi Rodriguez's butthole. So right here you would have like, this is all butt cheek area. And if this were unblurred, I've seen the unblurred version. Luckily, the unblurred version even, it still had this big yellow dot that someone had put in to cover up the actual anus, because you could see the actual sphincter, BH, fully exposed, sent to Ethan Van Sciver. But Robbi Rodriguez, I guess he sent this over. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if someone put this on here or if Robbi's original photo had this attached to it. Either way, you could see like the butt hairs up above and all around the crack. It's still pretty explicit, which is why I decided to actually pixelate it, and I wanted to do that to make sure that this video didn't get stricken down and that I didn't get a strike on this channel or something for showing porn. So I can still tell you about it. I can describe the picture. It is graphic. I'm not describing it because I think it's cool or funny, but this is what it was. This is what he tweeted. It's gone now. I don't know exactly why you would do this. I don't know what the point would be. I don't know what you're trying to accomplish by sending Ethan Van Sciver a picture of your butthole on Twitter. It's not like, what? Gotcha. You looked at my butthole, Ethan. Well, now what? You know? What? What was that for? Why would you do that? It is something that someone who is completely unhinged would do, and that's what I'm saying about these people. That's where they're coming from. They just don't know what to do. They don't know how to interact with people who they disagree with and who disagree with them. They just call you a Nazi, and they do shit like this. They send you a picture of their butthole on Twitter, and think that that's somehow like a zinger, that they've really gotten one over on you because you looked at their butthole. What? Robbi, sir, you have at this point still your own page on Marvel's website. You have a new comic book coming out on the new line of Vertigo. You are a successful artist, and then you did this. You work for Marvel, owned by Disney. You work for Marvel, owned by Disney. You also work for DC. Do you think that this is going to help you get work in the future? Do you think this is going to do anything positive for your career? And do you think that this is going to negatively impact Ethan Van Sciver? This is something that, like I said, a person who is completely unhinged would do, who has nothing else in the tank. They don't know how to interact with people they disagree with. So this is what they resort to. They resort to shit like this where he is probably going to ruin his own career with this move. I would not be surprised if within several days this page is empty And I wouldn't be surprised if they get a new artist for Goddess Mode. They'll probably keep Zoe Quinn around, but you could even spin this to be like a form of sexual harassment. You're sending a nude photograph to someone who did not ask for it, and I don't think that Ethan Van Sciver is going to pursue that. I don't think he's going to pursue that route. He actually said that what he's going to do as a response to this is he is going to reopen the pre-orders for Cyberfrog again for 1 week, and he's going to do a variant cover. So I don't know what the variant cover is going to be, but he said he's going to reopen it on Wednesday, and he said that would be his response to this controversy with Robbi Rodriguez. So, so I mean, congratulations, Robbi. It's like you did this, and what was the response? What did you accomplish? You accomplished probably being fired from whatever projects Marvel was planning to hire you for. I wouldn't be surprised if DC cuts ties with him. Van Sciver is still on good terms with DC Comics, and I think he probably still has a lot of people there who like him, even if they wouldn't come out and say it in public. I mean, he worked for them for a long time, so it's not like Robbi Rodriguez is cemented his place at DC. He was like new blood, and then you do this to someone who's worked in the industry for 25 years. Someone who also worked at the company that you are just stepping into for a new book, and you go after someone who's well established, arguably a legend in the industry already after 25 years in the business. So, dumb move. But like I said, when you have nothing else to do, when you don't know how to discuss your disagreements, when you don't know how to voice those opinions in an intelligent and thought out, well articulated way, then this is the kind of stuff that you resort to, and then you shoot yourself in the foot. You take away future work from yourself. It's just it's absurd. I don't understand why you would do this. I understand why you would take it down. I understand why you would delete all your tweets, because now you've drawn attention to yourself. But this is already out. It's already out there. You did it already, and it's probably not going to turn out well for you. So, yeah. So, best wishes, and I wanted to show everyone this as well. Andrew said that, Andrew said, a small group of individuals seeking to control the majority of folks. Their ideas are their wealth. Their life/experience is just more valuable than others. Yeah, that's how they feel. That's how they feel. Andrew also said that Cho should do a sexy pinup of Rectum Rodriguez. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of nod to this controversy hidden in this Cyberfrog variant cover that he's reopening the campaign for this coming Wednesday. So I mean, who knows? I don't know. I don't know to what extent this is going to boost the pre-orders, boost the numbers for Cyberfrog. Wouldn't it just be amazing if it actually just got him over $1 million? I don't think it will. I don't think it'll be that significant, but I think that they'll definitely get past 600,000 after he reopens. I think just for a week. I think they're going to breeze into that. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens on the first day that it's reopened, because there have been a lot of people who have just there are new people coming into this movement all the time. And so who knows how many people have stumbled upon his videos and stumbled upon the Cyberfrog Indiegogo since it shut down just, I think, a couple weeks ago. Who knows? I mean, there could be several thousand people just waiting in the wings for their chance to pre-order a copy. So I don't know. I'm going to say it's going to get at least up to 700,000. I would not be surprised at all if it breaks 700. Jess said, hopefully I'm guessing hopefully the variant won't be a drawing of the butthole. Yeah. I don't think it'll be a direct drawing of the butthole. But maybe someone with the Robbi Rodriguez likeness thrown in on the cover somewhere. I don't know. Maybe he won't do anything with it at all, but you know, you got to poke fun at it somehow. So I wanted to show where all this leads and what happens when people in Robbi Rodriguez's position do this kind of stuff. They think that it's a zinger. They think that people are going to laugh. They think people are going to be behind them. They're going to cheer them on. They're going to say, man, you really got Ethan Van Sciver by sending him a picture of your butthole on Twitter. Man, I'm so convinced your ideology has to be airtight, man. You are the type of guy that I want to follow. I'm so inspired by someone who can send another man a picture of his butthole on Twitter. There's nothing more inspiring than that. There's nothing more motivational than that. When your alarm goes off in the morning and you feel like hitting the snooze, just think to yourself, Robbi Rodriguez sent Ethan Van Sciver a picture of his butthole on Twitter. And feel your faculties awaken. And feel the jolt of life force that flows through you, that invigorates you. Feel yourself pulled from your bed by that very fact, by the fact that Robbi Rodriguez sent Ethan Van Sciver a picture of his butthole on Twitter. Be moved by that. It's impossible not to be. So, in all seriousness, here's what happens. I told Bender, if you recall earlier in this video, I was telling you that Bender had been a fan of Robbi's. Bender, at a comic convention that we went to, actually waited in line and paid money to have Robbi Rodriguez sign some of his books for him. I was standing right there. I didn't wait in line with him myself, but I was there when it happened. I saw them have, a nice enough exchange. I saw Bender, I believe, get one of those books graded. So he's been a fan enough to go and wait in line and meet this guy and to pay him money for his John Hancock. Well, I told Bender this story. I sent him the video earlier today where Ethan had gone through the events of last night and described everything and gave his thoughts on it. And Jess asked if we could put a new picture up. What, you guys don't like this? You don't think that this is fun to look at? I mean, it's blurred out. It could be anything you want, couldn't it? Just imagine that this is like the sun rising, and this is like a stormy. It's like a stormy sky. What do they say? Red sky at night, sailor's delight, red sky at morning, sailor take warning. Red sky at morning. So yeah, the sun's coming up, the sky's red, sailor take warning. That's what this picture is telling you. So take warning, folks. When you see this, take warning. We'll switch it off here. So I told Bender about all this, and so here's his reaction. Bender says, "Yeah, totally insane. I'm, however, gonna get Cyberfrog when he reopens it. Ha ha." So there's what you get. That's what you get, Robbi. Bender, your fan, thinks that you are totally insane, and now he's gonna order himself a copy of Cyberfrog when he reopens it on Wednesday. So, mission accomplished, right? Mission accomplished, Robbi Rodriguez. You have just given Ethan Van Sciver another customer, and that's what you get. So, if that's what you were trying for, like I said, mission accomplished. You could be very proud of yourself. You're probably going to lose your job. You're probably going to have your pics taken down, your artwork taken down from Marvel's website. You are going to get the James Gunn treatment. You're going to be booted. No one's going to hire you at these big companies anymore. And you also gave Ethan Van Sciver another Cyberfrog pre-order. So there you go. That's what happens. That's what happens when you act the way that Robbi Rodriguez acted. You don't accomplish anything. You hurt yourself, and you help your enemies. So please remember that, chefs, when you're dealing with people, when you're having a disagreement, when you find yourself feeling resentful, don't resort to sending your enemies butt photographs. That's not going to help you. It's going to hurt you, and it's going to help them in the end. Pun intended there. So I would like to thank you all for watching tonight. Thanks for hanging out. If you're watching this later on, please leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. If you have anything to add to the discussion, please do so. We always comment back. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't. We can take it. I'd rather you like it. That's what we're here for. We want you to enjoy this fresh fly content every day. We go live every day, so make sure that you subscribe to this channel, bong the gong for notifications, and join us when we go live so that you can chat it up. You can hang out with people like Obi-Wan. You can hang out with my wife who joins us sometimes. You can hang out with Andrew. It's a fun time. So come on in. It's a nice, fun little community. And we'll be back tomorrow. And until then, y'all take real good care. All right. Good night.